We have the next panel, Unleashing Potential, Growing Your Games Business in Malta, which is sponsored by Grant Thornton and is going to be moderated by the great Dan Lickery. So over to you, Dan. It's all yours.
Good morning, Malta, or bonjour, as they say here, Dobry Ranak. I'd like to first say that each of the panelists here are folks that are helping games companies and other types of games tech companies set up here in Malta, and they all have a different way of helping you out here. So you're going to get a chance to hear a little bit about what they're doing, but ideally you'll also get a chance to sit down with them and talk in more detail. At the back there, just so you know, there is a meet to match area around the corner as well. So if you're looking to find that meeting point, that's where you're going. So my name is Dan Lickery. I'm a consultant that works for Gaming Malta, helping bring companies down to Malta. And I'd like to pass it on, and everyone's going to tell them a little bit more. You've heard, first of all, from Ivan, but I'll pass it over to Ivan first.
Right, hi. So, as Gaming Malta, we are the first point of contact, right, Dan, for the gaming industry. So essentially our business is building ecosystems, and that's exactly what we attempt in doing. More than that is also connecting all the people together on all the jigsaw puzzle. I must say we have an excellent relationship with our colleagues at Malta Enterprise, and I must thank Marion, she's here also here today, and Melanie and the rest of the team, since it's very important for us to have an entity like Malta Enterprise which embraces the industry, and more so which understands the industry. So it takes time to also come to the conclusion that not every game will be successful. So essentially we have to learn how to fail also in certain respects. But more than that, we are the first point of contact for companies landing in Malta, and we then guide them to the right entities, to the right investors, angel investors in our base camp, etc. Continue accelerating and be the flag bearer and spearheading for the industry.
And it's true. Ivan is like everyone's uncle. He'll know everyone, and obviously can connect you to lots of the different folks on the island. I'm going to pass over next to Varane from Grant Thornton.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'm Varane from Grant Thornton. At Grant Thornton, we offer a bunch of different services, financial advisory, tax, economic advisory, digital transformation. But as we like to put it at Grant Thornton, we're really one firm and one team. So when you come to us, you're not just being served by Varane, you're not just being served by the financial advisory team, but you're being served by the whole firm. A small anecdote from my first meeting with Kirsten, when we met at Gamescom, he asked me, so what is it exactly that you guys do? And I said, everything. Because whatever the issue, whatever problem that a client comes to us with, we always try to find a solution. We're a solution-driven firm, and perhaps we can delve into the solutions we provide further in the panel.
Right, thank you. Next, we have Melanie from Malta Enterprise. Tell us what you're about.
Okay, so essentially I'm for part of the investment promotion team at Malta Enterprise. By investment promotion we mean that we are there to attract foreign investment into Malta. Of course we have a number of priority areas, and of course games development is one of them, and for that we work very closely with Ivan and his team at Gaming Malta. But apart from that we also work very closely with corporate service providers in order also to assist companies to set up in Malta and also maximize their potential here essentially.
Thank you very much, Melanie. And George?
Yes,
Tell us about
good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Glad to be here. My name is George Bujaya. I'm a senior executive within the internationalization unit at the Malta Council for Science and Technology. In a nutshell, basically, we assess stakeholders to tap R&I funding, ranging up to 500K for research innovation projects. Thank you.
Thank you. So in essence, what you see here are some of the pieces of the puzzle that you might want to put together while you're here. But just as a general feel, it depends on what you're doing And in terms of which one that you're going to go to, obviously Malta Enterprise are the national support body, innovation agency, but also with George and what they do have here, there's a lot of big programs across Europe, and folks coming from over from the States probably don't see this as much, but I think it's a 300 million pound R&D program, and it's for a lot of emerging tech. It's a perfect place for do that, and Malta has become quite a test bed for some of these technologies, and I think that's one of the things that we're trying to see here converging. A number of folks that you'll also see some of the stuff out on the expo floor. I'm just going to throw it back, and maybe we'll go back the other direction this time. So can you give us an example, George, of a company that, or a program that you've helped with before in this space? So it might put it in context.
So basically, as I was trying to hint to earlier, at the council we have local funds. So any beneficiary, any legal established entity in Malta can tap the funding. In basic terms, anyone applying for the national funding can step and escalate their participation. So they can start with local funds and then tap the European funding, or go straight to the European. The main difference is the competition. So as you were saying, if you want me to give a concrete example of someone that has benefited from our schemes, that would be in the digital sector. I'm inclined to give you an example in that area, where basically they applied technology that they had and applied it in a different sector. So they used augmented reality for healthcare systems. And another example would be insole technology for the foot, which was developed on AV and RV technology. So all those elements of technology have been taken from one sector and applied into a new sector. So there's always an element of innovation. What I want to also mention is that apart from the local funding, we have the NCP network, which assists stakeholders to apply for the Horizon Europe funds. As you were hinting, it's a massive fund, and digital is part of that. So anyone that's interested, we can have a one-to-one meeting later on, and I can explain in more detail about that.
That's brilliant. Thank you for that clarification. And just to let you know, Malta has been very successful across Europe in putting together consortia and projects. So if you're coming from the UK who used to be in Europe, they actually are getting involved in the program as well, but it's matched funds from the UK government. But if you're coming from somewhere else, it's a really good place to look at how you're doing these R&D programs, and it's a really good home for that. I'm going to pass over to Melanie now, which is more around the national help that's available. And maybe you can tell a little bit of an example of the kinds of assistance that you give.
Yeah. So essentially, in this particular industry, in games development, we see a number of startups. And I think the most interesting schemes that we have in place are actually targeting startups. Just to give you maybe some ideas there, our assistance for what we refer to as highly innovative startups can even go up to 1 million euros. However, when we say 1 million euros, I need to qualify that, because if not, we'll have all people coming to us, requesting this money. Yeah. But essentially, we're looking at a 200,000, which is a cash grant or tax credit, and generally, this particular scheme can be used for relocation costs, recruitment costs, and other costs for setting up in Malta. Whilst the other 800,000 is split into two. There's the initial 400,000, and the additional 400,000 is allocated for companies that are able to prove that what they're doing is not currently available on the market, or they are doing it with a technology which isn't on the market yet. What's interesting about the scheme is that it is a repayable advance, but only repayable once the company starts registering profits. So before that, we're not putting any pressure on the company's cash flow. And also one very important thing is that all of our funding is non-dilutive, so we do not take any equity, and of course that is something which is very interesting for startups out there who many of the times are seeking funding through VCs or other investors out there who of course would want their piece of cake, you know.
Excellent. Thank you, Melanie. So just to make sure you know that those kinds of things, that means it's time for the next one.
FDI business coming
Yes,
in,
right.
Dan?
Coming in? The coach is outside, right? So one of the things that you want to make sure you do when you're looking at this, because just from both the Malta Council for Science and Technology and from Malta Enterprise, there are forms, government forms, which sometimes can be quite long. So usually it's how do you decipher that and how commercially you use it. I think there are some great service providers here on the island, and we'll maybe tell you a little bit how maybe you help them through those processes.
So as George and Melanie mentioned, one of the main things that video gaming companies are looking for is funding, right? And there is funding available, but far too often it seems like a bit of a daunting task or time-consuming, and so video gaming companies are a bit reluctant to go for the funding that's available. So that's where we come in. We sort of, first, we can help you identify which funding is best suited for you. With our collaborations with Malta Enterprise and such, we have a pretty good understanding of what's available and what would be best suited for your specific needs. And then once we identify it, then really taking you through the application process, whether it's preparing a business plan or finding a business case, justifying why you need the funding. So that's really how we would fit in. And on top of that, it's not just accessing funding, but one of the things that I noted as well following my conversations with video gaming companies is that they really want to focus on the core business, which is developing the video game. And there are a lot of, tasks that are essential for running a business, but aren't necessarily value-adding. This includes, for example, payroll, accounting, all of that back office stuff that is essential, but it isn't really part of the core business. So that's also how we can help you take that burden off your shoulders, and let you focus on what's really important, which is creating the next best game. Yeah.
Excellent. So when you see these, and I've already spoken to a few of you that are maybe in this boat, you don't necessarily know what it is that you're going to do here because you're still learning what's on the island and what the opportunities are. And I think the nice thing, over the next couple of days, you're going to have an opportunity to sit down with the different people and talk, but you'll also meet folks that we've been bringing over for years that have gone through the system, so they can give their own experience as well to you. Do I set up a subsidiary here? Do I, that kind of discussion that gets into the nitty-gritty. This is a great forum for that, and also after lunch you get a chance to meet. But in terms of the bits that are connecting on the island and the connectivity, Ivan, can you tell me a bit more about what Gaming Malta has done, maybe before COVID, or can I still say the C word, and through to today, what kinds of assistance that you helped?
So, when we had started off, it was, relatively new to us, okay? So we're very much known for the iGaming world. And then we had, starting off from ground zero around that. I think the first thing we did was we made sure that the ecosystem which we had already, we brought all that together. I think that was a vital step. In saying what we have, bringing them together, showing that there's an entity which is ready to help and to assist, and starting off from there. You mentioned COVID. COVID is an interesting case study, right? So we could have stopped at COVID. But I think, and probably you attest to that, Dan, is we were very busy over those 1.5 years, where we still had the Global Top Round Conference online. We still had doing meeting with UK trade delegations online, and that really helped us in never missing a beat over those 2 years. Because then when it all opened up again, we hit the ground running, especially. I think that was very, very important. In fact, one major decision we had was we had just signed a contract with ESL. I remember it was February, and you know, they were going to organize their first Pro League season on the island. It was after 2 years of contract negotiations and all that. And we go on lockdown. And I think one of the most difficult calls I had to make was, you know, calling the teams through ESL and whatever. They were at the airport already nearly boarding the planes to Malta, and we actually told them within the next couple of hours we're on lockdown. Turn back. Now the easiest part for us would have been to just pull out and say, look, it's COVID, sorry, it's not going to happen on the island. But we took a decision that will continue with our partnership. A, because we wanted to give a clear direction and a clear mission that we are supporting the ecosystem. This is not just about us. So we are supporting the esports global ecosystem, the teams and the players, etc. Secondly, also the fact that it was online, it opened us up to the world, as simple as that. Nobody was saying Malta at the time, right? So there was no massive marketing international campaigns. But then with ESL, you know, we had 500,000 concurrent viewers seeing Malta and the views of Malta, and that really gave us, and I want to mention this because when I think about it, Dan, those 2 years of COVID were strategically used well, I would say, and it could have really knocked 2 years out of our plans. So still it was difficult, because coming back now to the other point is I like to tell people when they talk to us about FDI and the Malta ecosystem, come to Malta and see the lay of the land first, right? Because you have to feel comfortable with the jurisdiction, you have to meet the people, you know, hear the good things about us, hear, you know, what we need to improve and all that. You know, we're not essentially on a sales pitch, let's put it this way, because there's a lot of responsibility, you know, bringing people to the island, bringing families to the island, setting up in new schools and all that. So it's important, our goal is come here, check out the lay of the land, see what we're doing, see what it's all about, and discussions, you know, will continue. Of course the numbers are important. Of course the grants will always be important and all of that. But first, get a feel of the island, get a feel of what we're doing here. That, I think, is extremely vital. Now, what we're doing is, so other things which we needed to improve was there was no culture of venture capital on the island, for example, right? So this is why we set up, through Malta government investment, you know, a 10 million euro venture capital fund, which will include, you know, games, esports, green transition technology, and all that. So we needed to get the culture there also. So we needed to also have a network of angel investors who are saying, hey, we're not necessarily looking just at property to invest, but we want to get into tech now also. You know, so, and we've built up a network around that. But obviously now we need to work closely in looking at you know, what fiscal initiatives we can create focused on the video game and the esports sectors, looking at video gaming grants and all that. We're, you know, starting off negotiations also with Creative Europe, because there's a lot which one can tap into, and that's being a European jurisdiction, we can tap into to help also this. So we want to bring all this together, you know, to the power of one, and ultimately, you know, to have the ease of starting up your business here, getting funded, and seeing it grow.
Thank you. I think, Ivan, if you remember a few years back,
yeah,
when we were saying what we need to do is build a stage. What a stage you've built. But it's
that person and the rest of the
indeed,
stage,
but using Malta as a stage for your, you know, growing ambitions. If you're going east to west, north to south, I think Malta has had a rich history of bringing people from around the world together, and I think this is you know, so far it's also going to pick up on what you've already heard the last speakers talk about. We do have enough time. Oh, that's well spotted.
There's more FDI coming in than we
So we have a chance now, I think, for at least one question from the floor. If anyone is, you know, baiting a breath to get a word in, if anyone has a question from the floor, we can take it now. And I can't see any of you, so if anyone out there is giving us a signal that we bamboozled them. Okay, well, stunned for silence. I think I'm going to feed back a couple more minutes so that we can get a little closer to the timing as well. But please find all of us during the break, during lunch, and get on the Meet to Match if you can as well, so you can, if you wanted to see people that aren't on the stage and maybe out in the audience, please make sure you use all the facilities that are there. Any last words from anyone? Or,
As basically
George?
we're saying, just reach out to us. Our schemes and our measures are there to support you. And finally, we want to commercialize. So whatever research that or innovation that you have, we want to help you bring it to market. So that's basically it.
Yeah, just one more thing. Ivan mentioned Creative Europe. It's actually, we started a line of communication with them just to understand what's available on a European level in terms of funding. And the feedback we got is that not a lot of Maltese, I mean, it's close to no take-up from Maltese companies who are tapping into EU funding, which they want to encourage. So even though it may seem like a time-consuming, daunting task, please, reach out to us. We can always help you. We've got a team. We've got people who have experience in applying for EU funding, who know exactly what they're looking for. So reach out to us, and we can help you get the funding that you need.
That's it.
Yeah, I think if I may add something then, because many of the times when we're having conversations with clients coming over to Malta, they think that our processes are super long and they will take months. I mean, we don't take that long, because sometimes they even think we take years or so. But our process usually is somewhere around 10 to 12 weeks. So within 10 to 12 weeks, usually our clients are in a position to have a reply from Malta Enterprise on whether our board of directors is willing to support the project or not, and the terms and conditions of such a support. I think it's worth mentioning that the process is quite straightforward, I would say.
And prior to that, preparing you, so if there's a business plan that's needed, we would take around 3 weeks to a month maximum to prepare you for that, and then it goes to you guys.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all. Could we give a round of applause to the panelists, please?
Thank you.
Enjoy the day. Come find us, please. All right? Thank you, everybody.